Hello Moonbuns, Callan here, welcome back to my channel. So a long time ago, you might all remember that I did a video about what Pokemon teams the Star Palace trio would have if they were in that world. I also promised videos explaining Shura and Erie's Pokemon. While it may have taken me a little while to get back to it, I never forgot. Today, we'll be talking about Erie's team. Time for you to take a shot every time you hear the word Pokemon. Erie herself is a very lonely woman. In her normal canon, she is quite literally immortal. This means she outlives everyone she gets close to and has to deal with them either completely growing away from her or watching them die. Even in the human universes, she still wouldn't be quite human. Rather, she'd be something that adapted into a human body. Therefore, in the Pokemon world, she'd be very drawn to the loneliest of Pokemon. That way, she could help take care of them and help them feel better. Up first, you know she'd have a Cubone. Cubone is referred to as the loneliest Pokemon in canon and wears the skull of its dead mother on its head. It cries whenever it thinks of its mother and, since it wears her skull on its head, it cries a lot. It also sees its mother in the full moon. Erie's Cubone would see her as a sort of surrogate mother. Though its own mother is never replaced in its heart, it takes comfort in the fact that she's picked it up from pure loneliness and takes care of it as if it were her own. There is always a Cubone on Erie's team, and honestly, I can see her going out of her way to make a space where she would gather up more than one and house them in a sort of permanent nursery, even adopting them out to other people once the Cubones were ready to receive care from anyone other than her. She makes it a mission to take care of them all as much as she can, a sentiment that her other Pokemon agree with and try to assist with. Speaking of the other Pokemon, let's move on to the next one, shall we? Erie would also have an Absol with her. This Pokemon is so grateful to her for treating it with kindness that it would always be by her side. Whenever it isn't helping with the Cubone nursery. Absols are referred to as the disaster Pokemon because of their ability to foresee natural disasters with their horns. Because of this, they would appear in human towns to try and warn them of these foreseen events, and the humans would look at them as a bad omen rather than a protector. As such, people hated seeing Absols. All these Pokemon are trying to do is help, but they are lonely and unhappy as a result of being alienated. The animated series and movies don't do a very good job of showing just how unhappy certain Pokemon are. Thankfully, we have the darker look on things from the games and Pokedex entries. Erie's Absol would be a quiet protector of everyone in the manor she'd live in. Because of her kindness and the acceptance of the other Pokemon there, it has taken it upon itself to look after them all and keep them safe from any harm that may befall them. Next up on Erie's team is a Mimikyu. Erie made friends with her particular Mimikyu after finding it crying in the woods over its little outfit being ripped. A similar moment happened in the actual animated series between Jessie and her Mimikyu. However, Erie takes things a step further. She offers the little one her own shawl to hide it until she can get it back to her home, and once they're there, she not only fixes up its costume, but goes out of her way to make it better than it was before. The fake eyes and face are now embroidered, and every single rip and tear is mended. Though she isn't satisfied with the quality of the fabric and offers to make the Mimikyu a brand new suit. This gains the Mimikyu's trust, and it decides to stay with her and pay back her kindness. It did, however, create a bit of a problem with the other Mimikyu in the forest who were jealous of its much nicer little Pikachu outfit. To try and rectify this, Erie has offered to make any Mimikyu that asks their own suit. She also does her best to try and make sure each one looks individual. Each Mimikyu can request a different eye color or little embellishments like extra embroidery and bows. Her Mimikyu essentially takes their orders and brings them back to her to complete. These acts of kindness, unbeknownst to her, have created an extra layer of protection around her manor, as the Mimikyu that she has helped are all living in the area and are willing to protect her as a result. Erie's fourth Pokemon would be an Esper. According to the Pokemon Wiki, the psychic type must constantly contain its immense psychic power lest it wreaks havoc on its surroundings, and it cannot be controlled. Esper's emotionless face gives nothing away, but using so much energy to contain its power evidently leaves none left for even the faintest smile. It's the face of a creature burdened with immense responsibility, which must bring its fair share of sadness. As such, Erie's Esper isn't expected to do much around the house. It tends to hide out in the many bedrooms, sleeping on whatever pillow pile it can find, and only coming out when seeking affection. Sometimes it will even sleep with Erie on colder nights to bring both her and the Pokemon comfort. Her other Pokemon will often join them in a big snuggle pile. It will also sometimes sit with Erie and her next Pokemon to listen to her read to them. Her next Pokemon being a Yamask. Yamasks are ghosts of humans, and the little mask they carry around was what their human face looked like when they were alive. They have all the memories of their human lives and will often cry in yearning to return to those lives. The tears, however, do not come from the Pokemon's face, they come from the face of the mask. This makes them off-putting to most people. Thankfully, Erie is not like most people. The Yamask on her team used to be a chef in its human life, and as such, she asks it to help around her kitchen. Erie loves to cook and bake, but because she takes care of so many other Pokemon, she has a hard time getting everything done herself. That's where the Yamask comes in. It loves being in the kitchen and putting together new and exciting dishes. It loves being in there so much that Erie has built a little home in one of the cupboards. It enjoys the small space, which includes a nice comfy bed that resembles a dog bed but cushier, a little whiteboard, lots of pillows, an area to store its favorite trinkets, recipe books, and an antique recipe box. Whenever it finds its absolute favorite recipes from a book, Erie will help it write them down on a card and put it in the box. Then she'll switch out the book for it to find new things to cook. It also likes to listen to her read, as the stories she picks up help it stop thinking about its old human life and let it escape reality for a little while. Last, but most certainly not least, is Erie's Corsola. But this isn't just any Corsola, it is a Galarian Corsola. This Pokemon lives in the fountain in the manor's garden. This Pokemon is literally a dead piece of coral. It is sun-bleached and died from a drastic climate and temperature change. Erie works as hard as she can to keep the water in the fountain saltwater, and is also working on a full tank for this newest Pokemon so that she can be fully submerged and happier. But the Corsola prefers being out in the fountain, as the gardens are where a lot of the other Pokemon will play. A lot of them like to come spend time with her, and she likes the fact that none of them treat her like she is ugly or dead. A lot of them think she is quite pretty, and she is known as the beauty of the manor. There are many other Pokemon who have taken up residence in the manor with her. A lot of them being ghost Pokemon that are misunderstood or baby Pokemon that have lost their parents. Erie does run an adoption agency for them, and while she mostly does this for Cubones, other Pokemon there who wish to have a human partner can be included in the adoptions as well. She is shocked that her life went from being a librarian to an adoption center, but she doesn't regret any of her choices. And that's Erie's team. Next time we'll talk about Shura. I'll see you all in the next mess. Later, Gators!